Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, we're here on the Super Jam session. I know this channel exists. And the reason why we're here is because we are down to have a good time talking about movies. Because we have a movie review that we're going to do. Even though it's been 4 or 5 months old, whatever. The point is that we're here to do a movie review, and I'm excited to do it with my friend JoshAgeddon. How you doing?
Shock! Hark! Is this what am I hearing what I think I'm hearing? We're actually doing a video for Super Jam Session version 2.
Yeah, and we're doing a movie review of a movie that's 6 months old.
Speaking of things that are 6 months old, the last video that we put up was Sean ranting about the World Series 6 months ago back in October.
I know, right?
We upload sporadically, I guess you could say, but thank you guys so much for joining us here on SJSv2. JoshAgeddon and Skyler here, and Sean is somewhere in the ether. He's gonna raise some significant hell when we post this.
Well, he wasn't invited because, unfortunately, your knowledge of Sonic the Hedgehog is better than his knowledge.
Ooh, there's gonna be so much "how dare you" when he hears this.
Well, here's the thing. What happened was that recently I was on vacation, and on the way back home from the vacation, I had nothing to do. My video games had died. The movie in flight was terrible, so I'm just like, okay. I finally broke down and watched Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And I don't know, did you guys post a review when you guys watched it?
I did a podcast about it on my YouTube channel. And Sean then messaged me, why wasn't I invited? So he's
So the second time now that we're doing this, where we talk about the movies and he's not invited.
Well, when we did the other two Sonic movies and the Mario movie, he did an extra jam about it. So I anticipate a very angry extra jam about Sonic 3. At this point, it's just a meme to not invite him.
Yeah, this is what we have to do. Next time we do a wrestling podcast, we're just not going to invite him. Especially because it's Money in the Bank, which is a show that he's not going to watch.
Yeah, well, I'll watch the show with the chat muted so I can enjoy it.
Yeah. But anyways, the reason why, again, we're doing this is that typically the way I watch movies is that if it's something I'm not interested in watching, I'll watch it months later after the hype has died down. So that way I can watch it without being influenced. And I knew absolutely nothing about the Sonic 3 Hedgehog movie. So I went into it with an open mind. And I watched it. And I'm not going to lie, I was entertained. But I have questions.
Okay.
And I know that only you can answer those questions because there are some things in this movie that don't make sense.
Okay.
And that's kind of like what I'm going to start with by saying is that Sonic the Hedgehog 3 to me is the most Sonic the Hedgehog movie you can ever experience. And I say this being a non-fan of the series. If you really want to enjoy this film, you have to be a fan because you will not get any of the references if you are not a fan.
For those of you that are unaware, basically Skyler is our token Mario fan. Wouldn't you say that is correct?
I was the guy that picked the Mario side on the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
But again, and would you agree with me, Joshua, that in order to enjoy any of the Sonic movies, but especially the third one, you kind of have to be a fan of the series in order to know all the references?
Especially since the movie is basically a live-action adaptation of Sonic Adventure 2. You need to be one of two things in order to enjoy any of these movies. Either be a child, or be a huge fan of Sonic. It depends on the person, I guess, if you're more into more lighthearted stuff that isn't too serious. Like, if an angry, grumpy curmudgeon that doesn't like Sonic watches this movie, you're probably not going to like it. But it is made for a specific type of person.
Well, I'm not angry or a curmudgeon or anything. I came into this with an open mind, and I will say I did enjoy myself. It's just there are things in this movie that don't make sense, and I'm trying to figure out if they don't make sense because I'm not a Sonic fan, or they don't make sense because it was stupid.
Okay.
And that's kind of like where I'm getting into it. But I also want to, inevitably will have to compare this movie to the other two movies, because that's kind of how it goes.
And we're gonna do this
I
again when Sonic 4 comes out, and we're gonna not invite Sean again, and he's just gonna finally snap and murder both of us.
yeah. But I think the thing when I was going back into it and the realization I had as I was thinking about what we were going to talk about today, here is what I think is the biggest differences between the three movies, at least from what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell me if you can agree with me or not, okay?
All right.
The first movie is completely different from the other two because it tried to take real life, semi believable people and put them in a situation that kind of fits into our real world, if that makes sense.
The plot of Sonic 1 was both loosely kind of it was basically a live action adaptation of the Sonic 1 game, but Sonic 1 doesn't really have a story. The plot of Sonic 1 is Dr. Eggman is putting animals and robots, and Sonic is like, "You stop that!" That's the plot of Sonic 1, the game. So Sonic 1, the movie, they're like, let's do that, but without putting animals and robots, and in our world, which is an old school Hollywood idea with a whole bunch of IPs. Like, they murdered the shit out of the Smurfs with that idea. So I do see what you're saying. They're basically like, what if Sonic was here on Earth with us?
Right, but what I liked the most about it is that the human characters, specifically Tom, Maddie, they feel like real people who suddenly now have to interact with an alien that has superpowers.
Yeah.
And it felt real world in the sense of like, okay, this could plausibly happen if a superpowered hedgehog was dropped into the world and what would happen. And the idea that, yes, some crazy guy in the military who spends way too much time working on machines would suddenly go after this hedgehog for ultimate power. Like, given what Elon Musk has done, I'm not surprised. Like, he would be the person that would be trying to chase down Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah. I could totally see Elon Musk trying to track down really fast blue hedgehogs.
He would try to take the quills and put them in the Teslas. Superpower his cars.
Instead of the Death Egg robot, it would be the Death Musk robot. He would just, because Eggman names all of his robots after egg things, he would name all of his robots after Musk things.
Well, no. It would be the X robot. He names everything after X. SpaceX, Twitter now X. It would be the X robot.
You know what? You're right, and I hate it. That's way less funny. X isn't even the coolest letter. V is the coolest letter. But anyway, I digress.
No, Musk believes that X is the coolest letter. That's why he named all of his children after them. But anyways, the point is that the first movie was semi-realistic in the idea that it could happen in the real world.
And the human characters, they were well built up and well fleshed out.
Yep. The second movie was different in that it decided to be a Lifetime movie.
Yeah, it was, here's your Sonic 2 movie. Now to commercial for this Hallmark original. We hope you enjoy, starring Shamar Moore.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that the second movie then took the human characters and basically turned it into a Hallmark movie for half of it, while it tried to do the Sonic the Hedgehog stuff. And as I said, when it was anything involving Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, or Robotnik, the movie was great. When it involved the romantic subplot comedy / oh my god, my wife's what do you call it, brother-in-law, I guess, or whatever. Point is that, like, the sister hates me, the brother-in-law hates me, then it's a secret agent, but the secret agent and the white girl fall in love and whatever bullshit.
Yeah, they went a little hog wild with that.
Right, while also trying to semi-establish Gun and not establish Gun at the same time.
Yeah.
Which, the problem with that movie and going into the third movie now is that they tried to establish Gun as serious for 5 seconds in that movie, and then they're not serious, when they're kind of the bad guys in the third movie, at least the start.
In all honesty, that is exactly how they are portrayed in the games. They are introduced as like the world police or something, but they are just absolute nincompoops in the games.
Which I guess is one of the questions I had was, are they canonically incompetent to the point of being beaten by regular people?
You know how in Star Wars, you hear about the Imperial stormtroopers, and Ben Kenobi's like, only an Imperial stormtrooper can be so precise. And in Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, they're beaten by fucking Ewoks because they're useless. That's Gun. That's Gun in the movies and in the games.
Right. Well, I guess what we'll do again is that we'll go through the third movie piece by piece as we examine different scenes and stuff. But I'm just gonna say it right now, and this is kind of like how I'm gonna really sidecast the movie. When it is anything involving Sonic, his group, Robotnik, or Shadow, the movie is fantastic.
I would agree. I would agree.
When it's anything involving any other human character, it sucks.
I wouldn't necessarily agree, because they have some equity with at least with me. If they don't with you, that's fine, but with me, they have built up equity over the previous two movies.
The one thing they did right was they made a lot of the human characters cameos.
Yes, I will agree, because a lot of people were not happy with how much screen time they ate up in 2, especially Maddie's sister and Shamar Moore. They had the briefest of cameos in Sonic 3, because this is what happens.
It wasn't even then.
This is what happens when you contractually obligate people, like when you put pen to paper, okay, you are contracted to be in X amount of movies, but we're also going to listen to fan demands, and fans shit all over them. You kind of want them to not be in the movie at all, but you signed the contract, so you kind of have to put them in the movie, so...
Well, here's the thing, though. Let's go to the movie and we'll get started with it. So what they first do is they play a Flash Black. Well, Jack Black is trying to get into this movie, too.
Oh, no. I'm Steve.
Flashback of a scene in 1974 with a meteorite that contains Shadow crash landing in the United States and seized by the military. And they put him in a facility to study his powers, study his abilities. And they don't do it, but they show the beginning of Shadow's relationship with the girl Maria, which becomes very important in the scene later on. But they do this first flashback kind of showing Shadow the Hedgehog how he came to Earth and how he came to be in the facility locked up. And then they transport to the modern day where he's still locked up in the facility, Gun, and immediately gets released. The Gun soldiers try to stop him, and Shadow takes out all of them in what I personally think is one of the coolest takedowns in the entire series so far.
That whole scene where he's just warping around beating people's asses, that is taken directly from the intro to the Shadow the Hedgehog video game from 2005. It is a one-to-one. There are so many references from Sonic Heroes, Shadow the Hedgehog, SA2, some of the later games. There's so many Easter eggs that just tickle me right in my peach.
Right, but the thing that to me is very important is that this scene, just like in the first scene where you see Knuckles, establishes Shadow's powers and abilities on a level that's higher than what Sonic currently is. And it's the first tease of Shadow and what he can do, and it makes up for a really interesting beginning of the movie. Then we go to Green Hill, where Sonic is throwing a party for his anniversary, coming in, and then we get the same thing that happened in the second movie, and this is kind of where it starts to kind of get repetitive. They have a scene with Sonic and Tom, where Tom gives him a piece of life advice, and then we don't see Tom for half the movie.
True.
It's movie making 101. It's fine. Do you remember what the piece of advice that Tom gave to Sonic was or something? I don't know.
It was, you're gonna make decisions in your life, some good, some bad, but as long as you stay true to who you are, you're a good guy, and I'll always love you, and don't let the black hedgehog kick me.
That last wasn't
Anyway. But yeah, it was basically like, make good decisions.
Make good choices out there, Sonic. Don't do drugs. Don't accept candy from strangers.
Don't
now.
let strangers touch it. What would you do? Like, this is what you do if a stranger touches you in a spot that makes you uncomfortable. That's no good. An actual quote from Sonic the Hedgehog in a PSA that actually aired.
Oh, God.
Not a joke. That is a real thing.
But anyways, the point is that they're doing this celebration, they're having a good time, and then Gun comes in and says, we kind of need your help with something because there's something that's happening in Tokyo and we can't stop it.
Mm-hmm.
And Sonic and friends are like, okay, let's go.
And the main girl that's with Gun, I can't remember her name. She looks exactly like Poppy. Just a little aside. I love Poppy, one of my favorite bands. She looks exactly like her. Anyway, you were
Dr. Rockwell?
Yes.
Which, is that a character in the Sonic universe?
No, she completely made up.
Okay. The reason why I'm asking is that who are the human characters that are like the leads of Gun in the games?
Well, the president of unspecified country is the leader of Gun in the games. And there's this dude named Abraham who's like the main commander, and he's in the games he's Maria's cousin, and he was on the Space Colony arc before a whole bunch of stuff happened. Which there's a lot of things that they changed in the movie from the games, but there's this dude named Abraham he has a grudge against Shadow throughout the Shadow the Hedgehog game, but actually he's not that bad of a dude after all. And then later on becomes an ally of the group. So he's basically like kind of their... Which, Commander Walters is essentially Abraham from the games. Just with a different name.
It's not a one-to-one.
It's not a one-to-one.
But anyways, the point is that Gun comes like, hey, we kind of fucked up and we need your help.
Yes.
So they bring Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails to Tokyo, where Shadow is destroying Gun, and we get the first introduction of Shadow and Sonic. And be honest, was Keanu Reeves not the best part of this movie?
Keanu Reeves was picture perfect as Shadow the Hedgehog. Okay, I say this every time I talk about this movie. I kind of there's part of me that wishes it was Hayden Christensen, because he was also rumored to be Shadow. But Reeves was so good as Shadow. Either one of them would have been perfect choices. But one thing that that was kind of glossed over is another reference that it is a line of dialogue that is ripped straight out of Sonic Adventure 2. When I first saw this movie in theaters, I nearly fell out of my chair because I could not believe they actually verbatim quoted the game. Because in the game starts off with City Escape. It's one of the most famous levels in any Sonic game ever. Sonic is being detained by Gun because they think he's Shadow, because Gun is stupid. Because they're like, there's a blue hedgehog and a black hedgehog. They're the same person. And Sonic jumps out of the helicopter and he's like, talk about low budget flights, no food or movies, I'm out of here. And he starts the level. In the movie, they're over Tokyo and he's about to jump out of the plane and he looks at Agent Rockwell and he's like, talk about low budget flights, no food or movies, we're out of here. I nearly fell out of my chair, dude. It was so good.
Well, I'm glad you had fun with that.
I sure did.
But anyways, the point is that we have Sonic and team to go up against Shadow, and we get the little introduction of Sonic trying to talk to Shadow, and Shadow having none of it, and this incredible fight scene between these four. Tell me, did Shadow's powers and abilities be accurately represented in this movie, at least in the first scene?
Throughout the entire movie, his powers are basically one-to-one with the games, although they haven't let him unleash his full power yet, because in the games, you probably know this, he does chaos control.
Which is the ability to slow down time.
He can use it to slow down time, he can use it to teleport, a whole bunch of crazy shit he can do with chaos control. But in order to do that, he needs to be in contact with a Chaos Emerald, and he only is in contact with a Chaos Emerald very briefly at the end of the movie. But in the games, he usually has a green Chaos Emerald with him, so he can use that. And he also develops other powers, like he does Chaos Blast, which is basically a Dragon Ball Z, like huge, like, you know, Vegeta's final explosion?
The thing is that I think it would have been a little bit too much, given that this is an introductory movie. Agreed.
There are a lot of rumors that they're going to do like some kind of Shadow the Hedgehog show or movie. if he says when he says chaos control in the middle of that movie, I may pass out. But one thing that they did do later on in the movie is they gave him the chaos spear, which is an energy projectile, which he used at the end of the movie, which again nearly made me fall out of my chair when him and Supersonic were fighting against the drones. God, that was so badass. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, but anyways, the point is that this first scene in Tokyo, Shadow destroys Knuckles, beats Tails, and then they have a chase with him and Sonic with the motorcycle throughout Tokyo that he easily wins.
It was so good. And of course, the trailer that came out where it first showed Shadow holding a gun, the top trend on Twitter and or X for several hours was, he's got a gun! That was a top trend for like a day after that trailer came out. And it was so funny, because without context, the top trend being he's got a gun, you have no idea what's going on. And if you're a fan of the Sonic franchise, it's just so funny.
But anyways, they destroy Sonic and team. Sonic gets picked up by Commander Walters, and this to me is one of the funniest scenes in the movie. Mm-hmm. They stop at a Japanese restaurant.
The Chow Garden.
This uber serious conversation with all the chows.
Oh, it was such a good reference. For those who don't
know what they are, please, Joshua, explain what a chow is.
A chow is like a little tiny creature that's okay, in Sonic Adventure 1, the main villain was this entity called Chaos, who was this blue mass that would eat Chaos Emeralds and transform, kind of like Cell absorbing the androids in Dragon Ball Z. And once he obtained all 7 Chaos Emeralds, he became Perfect Chaos, which is this giant Godzilla-like liquid monster. It's actually pretty badass. But he's related to these other creatures called Chows. He's like an evil mutated Chow, who are these little kind of like tiny creatures with wings who just float around and they make noises. And they're just cute. And in Sonic Adventure 2, one of the big parts of the game, I never play it because it's never really interested me, but essentially there's like an entire hub in Sonic Adventure 2 called the Chow Garden, where you can collect and raise Chow to compete against other people who also have Chow. You can have Chow boxing competitions, Chow that learn karate, Chow racing competitions. A lot of people that play Sonic Adventure 2 spend hours and hours in the Chow Garden. So that's what this entire set piece was referencing in this movie, and it was hilarious.
Again, it's this thing where, like, if you're not a Sonic fan and you don't know what the Chows are, then you're going to, like, have no idea what the heck is going on. You're just going to think it's a random Japanese restaurant that is doing weird Japanese stuff. Although, to be honest, that's not far from real Japan, so...
Yeah, I could totally imagine one of these stores actually existing in Japan.
Right. But anyways, the point is that Walters gives Sonic and team a little bit of backstory about Shadow and also hand him a super important device that is needed for something later. And gets killed by an explosion that happens because of a machine droid or something. And then a mysterious person on a bike shows up. Sonic and team have to chase him down. My favorite thing about this, by the way, is Sonic saying, "All right, we've already had our motorcycle chase."
That made me laugh too. I was like, okay, the writers are self-aware. Like, we just did this. We literally just did this.
And the other thing too, and this is a question I have for you, Joshua, because I asked it earlier, but I'm going to ask it now on screen. Does Sonic have humor in any of his media where he breaks the fourth wall and references things?
He'll occasionally, like, he doesn't go full on Deadpool, but he'll occasionally, like, say something that's like a little wink or a nod at the camera. The most fourth wall... I'm pretty sure,
like, that earlier line when he was jumping out of the helicopter, that's rip-off from that game.
Yeah.
Like, the popcorn and TV thing. That feels kind of like the humor.
Yeah, and the most fourth wall thing that Sonic has ever done, until this movie, is I think it might be in Sonic CD, but it's one of the early Sonic games where if you leave the controller idle for too long, he will literally get bored and jump off screen and kill himself. Not a joke. He will literally game over the game if you leave the controller idle for too long, because he'll get bored because he wants to go running on an adventure. He'll start tapping his foot in frustration, and then he'll just leave.
But anyways, the point of all this is to say that like I think this movie more than any other, they kind of leaned into the Sonic the Hedgehog, Spider-Man, Peter Parker
Hmm.
slash Deadpool, smart alecky mouth.
Yeah, they really did. But again, he's very MCU quippy in the games. Not so much to the point of breaking the fourth wall, but he essentially does the Spider-Man thing of making constant smart-ass comments. So it's very
Which
on
again, I
brand
have
for
no
him.
problem with. Ben Schwartz as Sonic, he's quickly becoming one of my favorite Sonic the Hedgehog voice actors in
Uh,
any media.
Agreed. He's very good.
Uh-oh.
Oh, did you drop something?
Yeah, I did drop something. Okay. Anyways, here's what you were saying.
But yeah, Ben Schwartz is a really good Sonic, and it's clear that he knows his shit. That's one thing I will say about all three of these movies, regardless of the quality or your opinions on them. It's obvious that the people making these movies care about the source material. Because, like the Borderlands movie, I didn't watch it. I've never even played Borderlands, but everyone that I've heard talk about it, whether they're a Borderlands fan or not, have always said this is nothing like the games. Like, it's nice to see a movie studio respect a game's source material, like, which is
It's not even
very
just
rare.
respect. They love it. You can
Yes.
tell that everyone that's involved love the Sonic the Hedgehog series and want to get it right.
Mm-hmm.
And they pay tribute to the fans and make sure that the fans know, yes, we love this too. We know it's goofy as shit,
Mm-hmm.
but hey, let's have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, they get to the end of this chase scene. It's Agent Stone,
Mm-hmm.
and Agent Stone's like, "Listen, I'm not here to fight. I'm here to help. We need to go see somebody." And they're like, "Oh no, it can't be." But it is Jim Carrey returning as now the fat Dr. Robotnik.
Yes. Full on Eggman.
Like the first movie, we got prim and proper. He's still part of the military, but
Mm-hmm.
he's still an official, regular kind of like crazy genius.
In the first
Second movie,
in the
he gets bald. He
mm-hmm.
keeps the mustache, but he's not that fat because he's been in the mushroom land. So he ate mushrooms, and mushrooms are healthy.
Mm-hmm.
No, he went on a full junk food bender, watching movies in the basement for 12 months type run.
Dude, in basically in Sonic movie 1, we got Dr. Robotnik. Sonic movie 2 is a bit of kind of Dr. Robotnik, kind of Dr. Eggman. Sonic movie 3, full on Dr. Eggman. Has completely lost his mind and control of his weight, but it's so fucking good. And Jim Carrey, oh my god, he's so perfect as Eggman.
Completely easily the person who has molded to his role the best of anybody in any of these video game movies.
Mm-hmm.
It you cannot play. Nobody else could play him.
No. Except for Mike Pollock, the voice actor for Eggman in the games. But other than Mike Pollock, don't ever have
No,
anyone else do
I
live
think Jim
action.
Carrey might be better. I think he might be better.
Maybe he's really damn good.
But the point is that they're like, I'm not working with him. Like, we have no choice. And Robotnik's like, I'm not working with them, and there's nothing you can do to convince me. Oh, somebody was using your robots. Wait, what the fuck? Okay, fine, I'll work with this one.
Mm-hmm.
But I expect payment, and he gets a quill because,
Because
deal's a deal.
he has a quill electricity addiction.
Basically, quills are his drugs.
Hey, I mean, they kept his grandfather relatively young, even though he was like what, over 100 years old.
Yeah,
So it's nice to know that quill addiction runs in the family.
right. But anyways, the point is that Team Sonic and Robotnik and Stone go to the abandoned gun facility. They are looking for the source of the power there. And this gun facility scene does one of two very important things.
Mm-hmm.
First things first, they go back and they do a full flashback of what was Maria and Shadow's relationship. This was the big heart scene of the movie to really show Shadow's humanity, which is funny because he's a hedgehog,
Mm-hmm.
but really ground that relationship.
This, in my opinion, was the most important thing in the entire movie. The relationship between Shadow and Maria, that is Shadow's character. That is the point of his character, and that is the thing that they absolutely had to get right. Because if they didn't get that right, or they just briefly touched on it, you would just think that, like, he is just an angry edgelord who's only ever an angry edgelord. Which he still is, but he has an arc to him. So, in my opinion...
the thing is that they give the reason why he's the angry edgelord. It's not just because me angry. It's because I was tested, experimented on, robbed of my freedom, and the one thing that made me happy was this person who saw me for more than just a weapon. It is full X-Men story basically going on right here.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because the whole thing of the X-Men is that the X-Men are mutants who are feared because of their powers and wanted to be exploited by the military, governments, and other people. But they are real people, and they deserve to have right to freedom and happiness. And as cheesy as the lines are about them looking at the stars and dead stars and alive stars, it worked.
Mm-hmm. They got this basically honestly, they did Shadow and Maria's relationship in the movie better than they do in the games, which they do very well in the games. And honestly, the most recent Sonic game, which was Sonic X Shadow Generations, what they did with Shadow and Maria in that game was absolutely phenomenal. But this movie got it so perfect.
The one thing I was thinking to myself as I was watching the scene, though, and I'm just like, and I'm glad they didn't try to make it romantic.
Me too, because they easily could have. In the games, it's supposed to be a brother-sister-like deal, and I'm glad that they kept it like that, because there has been a human-hedgehog relationship attempted in this franchise before, and it nearly burned the entire franchise to the ground. Do you know of what I am referring to, Skyler?
You told me about a relationship that Sonic the Hedgehog had with some sort of female human, which did not work because bestiality sex ain't cool.
It was in Sonic 06, the greatest video game ever devised.
So good that you made a video ranting about how bad it was.
It's honestly, that game is so much fun. It's such a pile of garbage, but it's like The Room. Like, it's so bad, but I can't stop laughing at it. But in that game, Sonic and this princess named Elise fall in love, but it's very poorly written. There are scenes of them talking in pretty-looking fields that look ripped right out of Attack of the Clones. And then at the end of the game, the main villain kills Sonic, and Elise brings him back to life by kissing him on the lips, and he turns into Super Sonic after she kisses him. I wish I was joking. This is real. What a time we live in.
Yeah. But anyway, the point is that we see this whole background scene, and the other important part, too, is that they explain that they try to escape him, Gerald Robotnik, and Maria dies in the escape, and that's why Shadow is angry.
Mm-hmm.
And they do this whole thing where he hears the people that are coming, and Shadow immediately takes out everybody in this really cool horror movie-like scene where the killer just goes in and ambushes Team Sonic and Robotnik.
They did Shadow so good in this movie. They got Shadow perfect in this movie. I cannot give them enough credit.
Yep, and then they do this thing where they have Dr. Robotnik meet his grandfather, Gerald, who is also played by Jim Carrey. And this particular line where the two Robotniks are basically looking at each other and talking to each other, they break the fourth wall. Absolutely smashed through it with a particular line. Joshua, do you remember the line?
They didn't just break the fourth wall. They destroyed it with a sledgehammer. They were like, it's almost like we're in a movie being played by the same actor. And when I watched this movie, every time I went to the theater to see this movie, when that happened, the whole theater was basically crying. Only Jim Carrey could have made that work.
It's so good. It's so good. Listen, despite my criticisms of certain parts of this movie, which we will get to in a little bit because they come a little bit later, everything involving Jim Carrey and Agent Stone are gold. They're the two best human characters by far and away because, yes, they're not serious, but that's kind of on purpose. Like, they're having fun with the role, and more importantly, you do sense the menace and the evil in both of them.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, they take the key card away from Tails. Now they have one of two pieces that they need in order to activate the secret weapon that Gerald has.
Mm-hmm.
They leave Team Sonic in the facility with a miniature black hole bomb, which they did the one thing that villains don't do, and that's make sure that they get the kill.
Yep.
That's the one criticism I guess you can have, but then I don't know how anybody else could escape a miniature black hole bomb.
I mean, again, it's movies 101. The villain always kind of almost gets the kill, but gets too cocky and leaves before making sure the job is done.
Yep. Now, here's the part where the movie does both good and bad things. Team Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles transport to Tom and Maddie's location because they need their help.
Mm-hmm.
What do they do with this particular scene that I exactly hated? Was they took Tom and Maddie and tried to have screwball comedy.
You mean you're not a fan of Little Tom?
Listen, I don't care for it in professional wrestling with Harley Cameron.
Or Alexa Bliss.
Or Alexa. At least Alexa Bliss did not try to do a ventriloquist gimmick with the doll.
You're not a big fan of ventriloquism, I'm learning now on this podcast.
Only when Jeff Dunham does it.
I don't know who that is.
Wait, you don't know who that is?
No, I do not. I've lived a very
My age is really showing me.
I've lived a very sheltered life, Skyler.
Do you not watch comedies? Oh, he's also 63. Fuck me.
No, I do not watch Comedy Central.
Okay. Actually, you would have had to watch Comedy Central from like 2004 to 2008.
Yeah, I was watching 4Kids around that time, and Nickelodeon.
Well, I was 10 to 14, so I was getting out of 4Kids generation into the Comedy Central generation. Whatever it is. Okay, age realism aside.
Existential crisis aside.
Existential crisis aside. They took what were two regular human characters. I mean, Tom was a police officer, Maddie was a yoga instructor, and they basically turned them into nothing. I hate what the movies have done with these two, because in the very first movie, they established both Tom and Maddie as being pretty smart, Tom especially, and they have to do a lot of scenes with Sonic establishing him as just a regular everyday man, but he was kind of smart, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the second movie, they turned him into a jealous ex-boyfriend thing or whatever with the whole movie Hallmark subplot thing. Now we have them doing weird comedy stunts with a doll. Like, why?
I think that I can kind of tell that they had no idea if they were going to get to do a sequel. So when they were making Sonic 1, they had all these extra human characters. You know, what if Sonic came to our world? And they wanted to do more stuff with Sonic in the next movies, but they weren't entirely sure what to do with the human characters outside of the first movie. But you gotta have them anyway and have them do something. What they had them do, outside of the Hallmark Channel stuff, didn't bother me. But I can kind of see, I kind of get how you're like, they went from being interesting characters to just people that are just there.
And that's kind of like my biggest complaint, is that outside of Robotnik, who you can't screw up anything when Jim Carrey is improvising, they never have a plan for any of their human characters. I didn't like the Hallmark movie scene, but at least they still used Tom and Maddie in something, right?
Mm-hmm.
This movie, they, again, appear in the very beginning, have a scene in the middle, and then appear at the end. It's very clear they shelved the human characters for absolutely nothing.
Yeah, this is also, you can see them actively trying to acquiesce to fan demands of less people. But at the same time, you can do that without, making them kind of useless. The only reason why Tom and Maddie were in this movie were they were in the previous two, and we need Shadow to kick Tom in the chest to make Sonic mad. That's it.
We need to have an arbitrary moment where the family that Sonic built up in the first and second movie gets hurt and makes Sonic mad,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm fine with that. That's actually really, really good. But it would have meant more if we got more, especially in this movie. Like they had enough in the second movie when Sonic, Tom, and Maddie were about to be squashed by the robot, and Sonic's emotions activating the Chaos Emeralds. Right, like that was enough. This movie, they have no scenes with Tom and Maddie other than the first part of the movie, which is like 40 minutes ago. But anyways, let's get to this part, and then we can explain more why I don't like this. They have this thing where Sonic and team have to raid the gun headquarters. Now, are you ready for my plot hole issue?
Sure.
If Gun already has the second key card and they're trying to protect the key card, why doesn't they just let Gun know about the attack that Shadow's about to do?
Probably because they don't believe that they would help. They're like, they don't trust them. It's one of those issues in a lot of, like, I've been watching Stranger Things with my mom, and a lot of the issues that come up in that show is if these characters would, I don't know, just talk to each other. But their heads are so far up their own ass, they never communicate, and problems just explode into even bigger problems because that's where the drama is. Same thing here.
Unless they assume that even if Gunn did know about the threat, that they still wouldn't be able to stop it.
That and Gun is useless.
I mean, okay, given the fair point, Tom and Maddie's the plan in order to get inside is that Tom and Maddie will deactivate the shield so that Sonic and team can go inside. Tom and Maddie, they do this thing where they turn them into Rachel and Shamar Moore. I don't even remember his character's name, but whatever.
I don't either.
But anyways, they turn into the two, and basically they have them go inside in order to put a USB drive in the computer in order to deactivate the shields.
Mm-hmm.
What this really, really sucks is this receptionist guy. He lets them both in based off the fact that Maddie pretending to be Rachel being really mad. This also implies that Rachel suddenly has a job at Gun now.
Yeah, this honestly was this was pure slapstick, like, angry Karen yelling at someone, quote-unquote comedy. I'd honestly, I didn't really care. I was like, oh, here's the obligatory Rachel cameo. And I was like, alright, I guess. It's very stupid. But as someone who works in retail and has to deal with a bunch of people who just want to talk to the manager, I can kind of understand the guy just like, you know what? I'm just going to let the angry black lady through so she'll stop yelling at me. So I kind of get it, but it is stupid.
To me, the worst part about all this is that, and his name is Randall, so whatever, fine.
Oh, yeah.
The point is that
I am Randall, and I am too much to handle.
The point is that this all implies that Rachel suddenly has enough power to be able to work for Gunn, which makes no sense and makes absolutely 100% sense at the same time.
Yeah.
But anyways, what this happens is that they go to deactivate the shields, and then they realize, wait, there's another USB drive. Robotniks are here. They're shown inside along with Shadow, going closer and closer to the key card.
Mm-hmm.
And Sonic is able to get inside. All of them are inside the room with the key card. Robotniks, Shadow, Sonic, and gun soldiers. And this really cool thing with the gravity is affecting all of them. Here's my question for you, Joshua. Are there gravity manipulators in the Sonic universe?
Yes, there are. Not in this specific situation, but in Sonic Adventure 2, because again, there's so much. This movie is again a live action Sonic Adventure 2. And there are levels where basically to traverse one of the levels you have to turn switches that switches the gravity around so you can go to other platforms. And even in Sonic Heroes, there's a haunted mansion where you press a switch and the stage like gets inverted. It's like a creepy alternate version of the stage where the gravity's different. So there is gravity manipulation in the series.
Which, all this is really cool, and it creates for a really interesting action scene where all of them are fighting to get the key card that belongs to Gunn. And eventually the Gunn person, I can't remember her name, Director Rockwell.
Yeah.
gets the key card, and then Tom very smartly portrays Commander Walters and gets the key card from her because she has to follow orders.
That and I can't believe it, a woman in the military.
Sexism aside.
I didn't say it, Gerald did. Damn it, Gerald.
Yeah. Sexism aside, Tom gets the key card until Shadow sees Commander Walters, thinks it's him, attacks him, and Commander Walters turns out to be Tom, who is severely injured.
Mhm.
Sonic sees Shadow do this. Shadow's like, I didn't mean to, but then he teleports away with the Robotniks with the key card.
Mm-hmm.
And they go to the sea part of London, and they activate Gerald's weapon. Before this, though, Sonic is really upset at Tom's injury, and now he wants revenge. Knuckles and Tails try to convince him, but unfortunately, Sonic is too hell-bent on doing the damage.
Let me just say, real quick,
yeah,
one of my favorite things that they've gotten right about Sonic's character in these movies, yeah, Sonic's a goofy, wisecracking dipshit. He's basically Dante from Devil May Cry 3 and Spider-Man rolled into one. But in the games, when he gets pissed, he locks in and he goes crazy. And in this movie, when Sonic got pissed, dude was like on sight. And they got angry Sonic perfect in this movie.
Right. And anyways, the point is that Shadow is so powerful and Sonic can't beat him, and they have the weapon now. Sonic wants to use the Chaos Emeralds, and Knuckles and Tails say you shouldn't, and Sonic says, no, I will, and you can't tell me not. This is going back to the whole decisions thing conversation that Sonic and Tom had at the beginning of the movie. And this is where it leads to another cameo, and this is where I hate this. I also... After you explained it to me, I kind of understood what was happening.
I knew that when you were telling me about the movie, I was like, when he gets to the Wade part, he's going to want to punch something.
Sonic demands that Knuckles gives him the Chaos Emeralds, and Knuckles says, no, I've given the Chaos Emeralds to a warrior, and you must pass that test in order to get the Chaos Emeralds. To Wade, on top of a building, in hockey gear, playing puck with the Chaos Emeralds. Which, you explained to me that in the Knuckles TV show, Knuckles and Wade have a bunch of scenes together in those episodes that establish the bond and establishes the reason why he has the Chaos Emeralds. I did not watch the Knuckles TV series, so you tell me what it was like.
Honestly, I didn't watch the whole thing either, because, not gonna lie, as much as I love the Sonic series, Knuckles is cool, but he's kind of on the periphery with me, like, oh, there's Knuckles, that's cool. Like, I love Sonic. I love Shadow. I love Dr. Eggman. There are characters in the Sonic franchise that I really like. I love E123 Omega. I love Rouge the Bat. Tails and Knuckles have never been my favorite characters. I don't hate them. They're just kind of there. So I watched a couple episodes of the Knuckles show, and I was like, eh. But from like...
To me, it feels like Knuckles was supposed to be the really cool, edgy... sometimes ally, sometimes enemy of Sonic, and then Shadow immediately replaced him.
That is exactly how the games went. Because Knuckles was first introduced in Sonic 3. He literally punched Sonic out of his super form and he was basically you know how in Dragon Ball Z Piccolo was like Goku's ultimate rival? And then Vegeta happened and, well, there goes being the rival for Piccolo. Same thing. Knuckles is Piccolo, Shadow is Vegeta.
Well, anyways, the point is that they do this thing where Sonic gets the Chaos Emeralds and he powers up because he's going to go stomp somebody. Gerald Robotnik activates a really cool robot drone thing or secret weapon that he has.
The Eclipse Cannon.
Which is that a real weapon in the Sonic universe?
Yes, but here's where they changed a few things. Okay, so in Sonic Adventure 2, the game that this movie is based on, there's the research facility that Shadow was basically raised in. It's a spaceship that orbits the planet called the Space Colony Ark. And on the Space Colony Ark is a laser attached to it called the Eclipse Cannon. In the movie, it's not a research facility. It's just one tiny little thing that's just the Eclipse cannon with a command bridge. So they changed it a little bit. And also in the game, they changed a few things to like make it fit with the movie. Like in the movie, in the games, Gerald Robotnik created Shadow the Hedgehog because in the games, Maria had some kind of disease where she literally could not be on Earth because the atmosphere would kill her. So she had to be in a controlled, manufactured atmosphere on a space station in order to live. Shadow was the result of experiments to create the ultimate life form to basically splice that whatever creature's DNA with Maria so it would cure her illness. That's how Shadow the Hedgehog was created in the video games. And then Gunn went and shut it down because they thought Shadow was too dangerous, and then all the hoopla happened. And in the games, Gerald Robotnik was actually executed via firing squad. And one of the soldiers during the raid on the Space Colony Ark actually shot Maria and killed her as she was sending Shadow to Earth in an escape pod where he lay dormant for 50 years, and then the events of the game happened. So yeah, they changed quite a few things, but again, there's only so much you can cram into a movie. But in the movie, the space station that they call the Eclipse Cannon, it's just the Eclipse Cannon. In the games, it's an actual much bigger research facility where the Eclipse Cannon is just a small piece of it.
Well, here's the thing, is that they had to get the Death Star out of inventory and bring it into the scene.
Yes, they did. What's funny is, in Sonic, there's two sort of Death Stars. In Sonic 2, the game, there's the Death Egg robot, which is, well, there's the Death Egg, which is basically just the Death Star with an Eggman logo on it. And that's where, like, the final level and final boss happens. And in Sonic Adventure 2, you have the Space Colony Ark, which has a Death Star laser attached to it. So it's pretty funny.
At the end of the day, I guess they had to do what they had to do in order to get the Death Star to work.
Uh-huh.
But anyways, the point is that they get the Death Star, and they debate about what they're going to do, but ultimately, Gerald decides he wants to destroy the entirety of Earth, even though the regular Robotnik wants to rule over humanity.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that Gerald was pushed too far away, and he's consumed by hatred and stuff.
Yeah, and that is exactly their disagreement in the games. Because Dr. Eggman joins Sonic and the good guys at the end of Sonic Adventure 2 to try to stop the Space Colony Ark from firing to destroy the... Oh, actually, in the games, Dr. Eggman wants to use the Space Colony Ark and the laser to basically threaten humanity to serve him, because he shoots at the moon. And like to display to basically show people, I'm not screwing around. I have a powerful laser. He shoots the moon to show his dominance and how powerful the machine is, to basically scare Earth into listening to him. And he also wants the 7 Chaos Emeralds because he thinks that'll make the laser fire at maximum power. The thing is, Gerald put a failsafe into the machine where once all 7 Chaos Emeralds are inserted, the Space Colony Ark will fall from the sky and slam into the Earth like a meteor. Have you ever seen Deep Impact, the movie?
Yeah.
Basically that. He wants to do that to the Earth with the Space Colony Ark. So, in the game, when Dr. Eggman realizes that that's what the plan is, that from Dr. Gerald Robotnik, he joins the good guys because he's like, I want to rule the Earth, not destroy it. So they change a few things, but the disagreement between the Eggmans is very much 1-in-1 movie to game.
Which, to me, I think it's a very good change that they did in order to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, the main point with all this stuff, and again, just to get back to like this thing, Sonic is charging up with the Chaos Emeralds. He meets Shadow and fights him outside, and Shadow also gets the power of the Emeralds. As Robotnik realizes what Gerald is about to do, he betrays him and starts fighting him, and we get two simultaneous fights, one that's serious and one that's played for laughs, but
Mm-hmm.
both very good in their own ways.
Mm-hmm. The fight
Which
between...
fight did you like better?
I love both of them, but dude, I have been wanting to see... Also, I'm eating, by the way.
Fair enough.
I have wanted to see Super Sonic and Super Shadow fight on the big screen my entire life. And this is the closest we have ever gotten to live-action Dragon Ball Z. Fuck Dragon Ball Evolution. This was Dragon Ball Z on the big screen.
My only thing, and this is, I know, something that I'm sure, Joshua, you're going to feel too, we didn't get All of Me.
We didn't get I Am All of Me, but again, they're probably, if they're ever going to play that, like during a Sonic live action something, it'll probably be during the Shadow show, because
But come on, if I Am All of Me had played during this movie, and particularly during this fight,
I would have lost my mind.
You would have exploded.
Yes.
We would have to pick you up in pieces because of how excited you would be hearing that in the movie as Shadow is fighting Sonic.
But I wasn't expecting it, because that song did not happen until the Shadow game in 2005. Because Sonic Adventure 2, that was 2001. And the song that game is known for is Live and Learn, which we'll get to in a second. So, if they do I Am All of Me, then it would be during the Shadow show or movie that they're planning on doing. So I wasn't expecting it. But yes, if they did do it, I would have lost my mind.
Right. But anyways, the point is that Sonic kind of teaches Shadow the importance of empathy.
Mm-hmm.
And making good choices. Again, don't do drugs.
That's no good!
This movie would have been very different if it wasn't revealed that, no, Shadow's not super powered, he's just on cocaine.
He's just on drugs. He did Chaos Emerald juice. Never do Chaos Emerald juice.
But anyways, the point is that as this happens and Sonic is able to convince Shadow to, like, see the light.
To turn babyface.
Yep. Robotnik is able to defeat Gerald, and this death scene is pretty cool, not gonna lie.
It was so funny. Because it's kind of horrifying when you think about it, because he got evaporated. Like, instantly. After getting a quill shoved up his ass. Not just a regular quill, a supersonic quill.
Yeah. Anyways, Tails and Knuckles show up, and all of them, Shadow, Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Dr. Robotnik, attempt to try and stop the cannon from firing because it already was on a sequence, and Gerald destroyed the control console. They accidentally slice off a part of the moon, which I guess did happen in a Sonic game.
Yes.
But they're able to stop the cannon, although Robotnik dies in the explosion of the Darth Star, but not before he makes a really weird, kind of sexual but not sexual speech to Agent Stone. Of all the things I didn't know that was part of the Sonic games, we need an Agent Stone in the Robotnik series. Like, someone who is his top minion but kind of homosexual lover. Like, I need that.
Honestly, the best character that has been introduced purely through the movies is Agent Stone.
Yep. Just it's all gold. It's all gold, and yes. I don't know what happens here. Did Robotnik survive the end of Sonic Adventure 2?
Yes. The way it happens in Sonic Adventure 2, again, because Dr. Gerald, to get revenge for Maria dying, programmed the Space Colony Ark to crash into the Earth if all 7 Chaos Emeralds are put into it. But then they executed him, so that plan was just lingering there in case it ever happened. It happens in Sonic Adventure 2, because Shadow is, like, manipulating people to putting Chaos Emeralds into the Space Colony Ark so it'll crash into Earth and avenge Maria. Well, Amy actually convinces Shadow the Hedgehog to have a babyface turn. So in the movie, Sonic had a heart-to-heart with Shadow. In the game, Amy has a heart-to-heart with Shadow and convinces him to turn babyface. So, one thing, though, in the games, Shadow was not the first creation of Dr. Gerald Robotnik. First, he created this giant lizard called the Bio Lizard. That was the first prototype of the Ultimate Life Form, but he couldn't control it, and it was it had no consciousness. It was just a wild animal, so he put it on ice. So in the game, when Shadow changes his mind and tries to stop the facility from crashing into the Earth, the Bio Lizard reappears to try to crash it into Earth for Gerald, and Shadow is essentially fighting an alternate version of himself, like an evil alternate version of himself. So it's Shadow versus the Bio Lizard, which is, look at these Sonic games getting oddly philosophical. But anyway, so he beats the Bio Lizard, but the Bio Lizard uses Chaos Control to warp itself to the top of the Space Colony Ark to literally drag it to where it will fall and smash into the Earth. So that's when Sonic and Shadow go Super Sonic and Super Shadow. They go out, and the final boss is the final hazard. They fight the Bio Lizard on top of the Space Colony Ark, and that's when Live and Learn is playing throughout the final boss rush. And they beat the Bio Lizard, they destroy it, but the Space Colony Ark is still falling towards the Earth. So they both use Chaos Control to warp the Space Colony Ark away from the Earth. But in the process, Shadow the Hedgehog loses consciousness and falls to the Earth, and everyone just assumes he's dead. During this whole time, Eggman is on board the Space Colony Ark, and he's fine. He was never in danger of dying once, unless the Ark crashed into the Earth. So again, they did change a few things here and there.
Well, here's the thing, is that this is basically a way to, again, write off Jim Carrey if he decides he wants to retire, or he can come back because there's some convoluted way that he survives.
If they
won't know until he decides.
If they decide to bring him back, they could, because again, Shadow survived at the end of, spoilers, Shadow survived, and it was revealed at the post-credit scene, because again, in this movie, he was pushing the about to explode Eclipse cannon away from the Earth, like out of range of the atmosphere. They could easily explain away, oh, he used his warping abilities to save Dr. Eggman's life before it exploded. They could easily do that.
Right, but here's the thing. Now that we've gotten past Sonic Adventure 2, is Robotnik essential for any other movies or games that would come up based on them?
It depends on what story they want to do.
Well, we'll get to the spoiler after the mid-credit scene in a little bit, and then you can tell me whether or not Robotnik is still needed. But the point is that Jim Carrey, through 3 movies, has been excellent in all 3. I want him to do more, but if he decides that this is it, then props to him.
Selfishly, I would love for him to be Eggman forever. But if he wants to retire, then like you're fucking Jim Carrey. You're one of the most well-known, recognizable actors of all time. If you've decided you've done enough, then you've done enough.
And to be honest, like, he could still decide to act. Like, the only 3 movies he has done is Sonic the Hedgehog 1, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Those are his 3 movies. He has not done anything else.
Yeah, because like those have been his most recent movies. He hasn't been involved with hardly anything else.
No, he hasn't. Like, he's only done those 3, and he said already that he will not do anything else unless the Sonic the Hedgehog movie that comes out interests him enough with the script and what he wants to do. So again, with that, kudos to Jim Carrey for basically doing 3 great spots. My next thing, though, is that we get this post kind of ending where it's Sonic sees Tom and they're happy and all that stuff. To me, this still feels hollow of an ending.
They wanted to tie the bow with the race at the beginning of the movie, so it was fine to me. But again, honestly, we do not need Tom or Maddie outside of a cameo in Sonic 4. Like,
well, here's the thing. Either you make them a cameo or you make them essential to the movie. It's one or the other. You can't half-ass it. And that's kind of like the biggest complaint that I have with this movie, is that all the human characters besides Robotnik feel half-assed.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Like, there are ways that you can involve characters like Tom and Maddie to be more essential in the movies, but you can't do scenes of lighthearted happiness and emotions to make, like, Sonic feel something if you don't have them in the movie more. Again, what made the first movie work is that Tom is with Sonic the entire time experiencing the adventure. And while the second movie, there was the Lifetime Channel Award that was happening in the middle of it, they still had Tom and Maddie involved somewhat enough in the movie that, okay, they're essential to the story. And Maddie did rescue Tom and Sonic from Gun. Like, she did do something, right? They have to have something involved for these characters to do so that when they do the heartbreaking or heartwarming moments, they matter more than, oh, and here are the human characters because they're there.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing too that these movies, if they're going to continue doing it, you need comedy from characters. Please be a little bit smarter about what you're going to do, because after a while it's just like Wade playing with the hockey puck, Emerald, Chaos Emeralds, whatever. Thankfully they didn't have Shamar Moore and Rachel or whatever like longer, because if they were in the movie longer, hated it.
You didn't want to see their extended honeymoon?
No.
Why not? That sounds horrible.
Oh, imagine those two on an extended honeymoon and Wade is their DJ.
Oh, God. I'm trying to eat, Skyler.
And he's DJing with the Master Emerald being the record scratcher.
Once again, I'm trying to eat, Skyler. Making me lose my appetite.
Now, here's the thing that I will go ahead and talk about how they could potentially introduce Robotnik in the fourth movie if they decide to.
Mm-hmm.
They have this race where Sonic is racing Knuckles and Tails, and Sonic apparently is very bad with directions. Is this a thing in the games where he's very bad at directions?
In the games, he's kind of like an aimless wanderer. Like, literally every game starts with a character trying to find him because, like, he's just off running because he's bored.
Okay, so I guess that's in line with the fact that he has no idea where he's going because he runs too fast.
Yeah, whenever he's not doing like a mission or saving the world in the games, like there would be just a filler episode of a Sonic show of him just running to random places with like, I just felt like it.
Okay. Well, anyways, the point is that he runs to some weird park in New York, which is really weird. And at first, they have a Metal Sonic robot show up, and it starts to attack Sonic, and Sonic either beats it or I don't remember the scene. So you need to kind of help me with this.
So Sonic is like, I think I ran a little too far, and then Metal Sonic appears and tries to shoot him, but again Sonic gets behind him and punches him in the face, and then he's like, interesting cosplay, but you got a few details wrong, and then there's an entire army of Metal Sonics that start surrounding Sonic, and he's like, well, this isn't good. And then a pink hammer comes out of nowhere and destroys them. And it pans up, and oh, there's Amy. And Sonic's like, who are you? And it's Amy, and then the movie ends.
Well, here's the thing. Who is Metal Sonic?
Metal Sonic is a creation of Dr. Eggman that was introduced in Sonic CD. He's literally, like, Eggman's like, this stupid blue hedgehog has beaten me so many times. I'll make my own blue hedgehog to beat him. That's Metal Sonic. Although...
And that's the reason why I think if they do a fourth movie, I think Jim Carrey does come back, because why would Metal Sonic exist in this universe unless it was another robot that was made by Robotnik?
Now, one thing that I think is kind of interesting that they could do, in Sonic Heroes, at first you think Eggman's the main villain, but it's revealed that Metal Sonic transformed into Neo Metal Sonic and took over Eggman's entire army and basically kicked him out. So he's the secret villain the entire time, and he's the final boss of Sonic Heroes. So what I'm thinking is they might, if Eggman comes back or if he doesn't come back, basically they can basically do Sonic CD and Sonic Heroes at the same time, with Metal Sonic being the last creation of Dr. Eggman before Sonic 3 even started. Like, because he was planning on revenge even though he was depressed in his lair watching Mexican TV or
watching Mexican soap operas.
Yeah, while he was doing that, he could have been working on Metal Sonic, and now Metal Sonic's like, you killed my master, and I'm the real Sonic, and then we have Sonic 4. But there's also been rumors about time travel in Sonic 4, which time travel was a part of Sonic CD, but it was also a part of Sonic 06, which concerns me.
Well, here's the thing, though, is that who would be the big bad of Sonic 06?
The big bad of Sonic 06 was the time god, Solaris. So in Sonic 06, there's a city called Soliana who worshipped the sun time god Solaris. But their scientists literally captured him and split him into two personalities. Mephiles, who's like a demonic-looking Shadow the Hedgehog, and Iblis, a giant fire monster. So the idea kind of like how Cell wanted to absorb Android 17 and 18 to become perfect. Mephiles wants to use the Chaos Emeralds to re-merge with Iblis to become Solaris and just wipe out the entire timeline because he's mad at the scientists for capturing him. So that's who the big bad of Sonic 06 is.
Okay. So the thing that we bring up is that we don't know what Sonic 4 looks like. We haven't seen a trailer yet. We just know that it's been officially greenlit and that it will be in March 19, 2027, so 2 years from now.
And I think that my theory of them doing some kind of hybrid of Sonic CD and Sonic Heroes might be correct. And if they try Sonic 06, I'm concerned because the story of that game is absolute garbage. But I do think that they're aware of that, and if they do decide to do a Sonic 06-esque story, then they'll do a much better job.
More likely, what they probably do is they probably take elements from 06, but they do Sonic CD, considering they already have Metal, Sonic, and Amy. The question is, what would the story be? Would it be Sonic falling in love with Amy?
Now, in the games, Amy is madly in love with Sonic, but Sonic doesn't care. Like, a lot of the games, he's running away from her because she's like a crazy fangirl.
Are you hoping they do the same thing, or you hope they do something different?
I guarantee you they're going to do something different. Because a girl chasing after a dude being a crazy fangirl, I guarantee you some people would look at that as problematic.
So, would you do it as Sonic falling in love with Amy?
I wouldn't, because that's not how it is in the games at all. In the game, Sonic is not interested in a relationship. He just wants to have fun.
Well, either way, they're going to have to do something there, right? Any chance you see Silver?
Maybe. If Silver is involved, then it's Sonic 06. Because that's the game he was introduced in.
Well, that's the thing, is that it will be CD, it will be both, right? It will be Silver and CD at the same time. So here's my question. Have we found the role for Hayden Christensen?
No, because Silver is not like broody or edgy. Honestly, Silver's character.
Come on! Don't you want to hear Hayden Christensen say it's no use?
No, I don't. No, I don't. But
Silver. That's, by the way, the thing that I know Sonic 06 for the most is that really frustrating boss fight and hearing that line over and over again.
Ad nauseum. But Silver's character is essentially Future Trunks from Dragon Ball Z, because in Sonic 06, he lives in an alternate future where Iblis, the fire monster, has destroyed everything. So he's sent back in time to try to kill Sonic, because he's told by Mephiles, who's manipulating everything, Sonic did something that caused Iblis to destroy the world. So Silver's sent back in time to kill Sonic. But of course, that doesn't happen, and they become friends, and Silver becomes a staple of the franchise. So yeah, he's basically Future Trunks.
Okay. Also, we have no idea who voiced Amy in this little thing, right?
I don't think she had a voice. She didn't have any lines. She just removed her hood and smiled. I thought she had
one line.
No, she didn't say anything.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. Who would you pick to voice Amy Rose?
Who would I pick to voice Amy? I have no idea.
Has there been any person that has been picked to voice her?
I don't think so.
And again, this
Natalie Portman.
That we're 2 years away from this movie coming out. We have no idea what it could be.
But yeah, I have no idea what they're gonna do I have theories and conjecture, but nothing solid. I just know that Sonic 4 is a thing that is happening.
Well, either way, this is definitely something that we're gonna look forward to. The thing for me is that how would you rate Sonic 3 as a movie on its own, and then how would you rate it in relation to the other movies?
On its own, I think it's very, very good. It's not perfect. Like, it's one thing about it is it's breakneck pace, which it's Sonic, so of course gotta go fast. And a lot of the human characters are useless, but they get, like, it's very good in my. But again, if you're not a Sonic fan or a child, and it might be difficult for you to enjoy it. You might think it's, well, this is the dumbest movie I've ever seen. So being a Sonic fan and or a child is definitely a prerequisite to enjoying this movie. In relation to the other two movies, I think it's the best of the trilogy. I think as a Sonic fan, I am a fan and I was serviced adequately. And again, you know how much Shadow the Hedgehog means to me. So
yeah, it basically defines your personality.
Essentially.
For me, being a non-Sonic fan and not getting all the references and having to ask you questions, it is tough. As a movie, I still think the first one was the best one in terms of like a whole coherent plot. But I acknowledge that all the cool stuff that happens in this movie blow everything that happened in the first movie out of the water, as it should, because when you're making sequels, you have to go bigger and you have to go better. And that's generally what the Sonic movies do. The best thing that the third movie did was to make sure to cut down on all the goofy human comedy shit that was happening. Yes, there were cameos, but they were not 15, 20-minute movie-length segments that dragged down the movie like the second one did.
They did not devour chunks of screen time for no reason. Like, literally, I wish there was an edit of Sonic 2 where literally the only change is some of those scenes were shortened by a lot.
That's the thing, is that if Sonic 2 didn't have the movie stop for the Lifetime channel, it would be instantly just as good as the first or third movie. But because it had those things, it can't in my mind.
For me, I kind of just ignore those parts. Although
it's kind of hard to ignore.
I know, but
they happen in very important parts of the middle.
The highs of Sonic 2 mean more to me than the Hallmark Channel, so that's why I can kind of just ignore it. It is definitely an issue. Like as a huge fan of this franchise, I don't need to see Rachel and Randall being too much. They were too much to handle. That is correct. They were too much to handle.
Right, and that's ultimately the thing, is that if they're gonna continue this series, you need to use the human characters in a smarter way. I'm worried that they won't, so I'm gonna be like, okay, you get one or two cameo scenes where you get to tell your dumb jokes. But if you do any more than that, I'm coming for you, movie producers.
You will literally murder them.
Listen, you get one or two cameos with all the dumb characters. That's why, like, yes, Wade was annoying to me as he was during the second movie, but he only had one cameo scene compared to two cameo scenes. Yes, Rachel and Randall were annoying to me, but they were only in one cameo scene compared to 20 to 30 minutes telling their own mini movie. If you're going to use the human characters, use them smartly. And more importantly, the one thing as a person you're going to have to acknowledge when you're going to watch this movie, if you're not a Sonic fan, is that this definitively happens in a Sonic the Hedgehog universe. And the reason I say that is because people are not going to react in the way that you think they're going to react, because they're going to behave based on what they do in the Sonic universe. And that's something that you have to kind of like acknowledge, which is tough, right?
Yeah, kind of like how in any, like, people in movies react to things a lot of times not how they would in real life. Kind of like the cliche that every character in a horror movie is an idiot. Like, has a negative IQ. Because they just make the dumbest decisions ever. That's a trope.
And that's ultimately what it's going to have to be, is that we're going to see more of it if they continue to decide to do that. I just hope they keep it short. I would say overall with this movie, I'm giving it a 8 out of 10. I think it's a good movie. If they didn't have the stupid human comedy stuff, or they made Tom and Maddie more important, then I would give this maybe a 9 or even a 10. But right now, I'm stuck with an 8. It's still a very good movie. It's a fun time. I think you should go see it, especially if you're a Sonic fan.
Whenever the hell it comes out on DVD, is it even out on DVD yet? I have no idea.
It's on streaming, so I'm sure it's on DVD now.
Well, it better be, because I want my physical copies. That's one thing you can take away from this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Physical media is superior.
Okay, so what would you give the movie out of 10?
Again, the pace is a little quick. and some of the human characters are kind of useless. And there are some things that are kind of plot hole-ish, like in Sonic 2, Gun is they say Gun was introduced and created because of Sonic 1. But in Sonic 3 they say Gun has existed for 50 years. So, which is it? So that's a bit of
Most likely, it was probably a military like division that eventually became Gun.
sure, but they could have they never allow it's to me that's the same as somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah, that's the one thing that these movies series need to be better is that if you're going to do multiple movies, you should be following in line with what you've established in the previous movie
All I'm
rather than change it to fit the narrative of the movie that comes after.
Yeah, all I'm saying is you need to hire a different continuity editor. But other than that, those are very, very small gripes that I have. Like the smallest of nitpicks. I love this movie. I think it's fantastic. It's my second favorite movie of last year. Of course, my favorite movie of last year was Dune Part 2. I cannot wait for Dune Messiah. That's going to be so good. But I loved it. They did my favorite character in all of fiction perfectly. Keanu Reeves killed it as Shadow. Jim Carrey is fantastic. Ben Schwartz is fantastic. I love the movie. I'm going to give it, again, I'm heavily biased, but I'm going to give it a solid 9 out of 10. I love Sonic 3.
Right. If it didn't have the plot holes or the stupid human character comedy, I'm sure you could have made it a 10.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But that concludes our discussion, unless you have any final thoughts, Skyler?
Well, here's something I want to ask you because we know that the Sonic the Hedgehog movie 4 is coming out in 2027. In 2026, next year, they have the Super Mario movie 2, which I believe is going to be Super Mario World, which, if that is the case, we're about to go on a galaxy adventure, basically. But what do you think of these video game movies that are coming out in quality compared to what they were in the past?
It's gone from everything sucks and is horrible to mixed bag because, like I mentioned earlier, Borderlands, from what I've heard, was a disaster. The Minecraft movie, it's done well at the box office, but I've also heard it's terrible, and I don't ever want to watch it, and I'm feeling the Jack Black fatigue, not gonna lie. But then you have, like, the Sonic movies have largely been good. They've raised the standard of video game movie adaptations. The Super Mario Bros.
Like, there's the whole Five Nights at Freddy's thing that's coming up. What do you call it? I don't remember. They have the Legend of Zelda coming out in 2027, which I'm very curious how they do that.
I am also very curious about that. But
there's a Street Fighter movie that's in production right now.
Oh my god, you're right. I forgot about that.
They haven't. There's a Duke Nukem film that's being worked on right now. They're working on Dead by Daylight. They're working on several other different video game stuff. I think at some point they're going to continue making this up. There's a Pac-Man movie being made right now too.
Really? Oh yeah,
Yes.
I forgot about that too. I heard one thing about it. Damn it, where's my Soul Calibur movie? Me wants it.
Well, tell someone to make a Soul Calibur movie.
Make a Soul Calibur movie, damn it. But anyway.
But again, it's kind of like you get this stuff. To me, there's also the Angry Birds, which whatever. The point is that I think there's good stuff in the video game stuff. I just wish that they get back to yes, make it for people who are fans, but also make it so that anybody can come and watch it.
Yeah, that is true. But my point is, I don't trust Hollywood with movies in general, honestly, because I've gone from there's 10 movies I want to see this year to I'm just here for Mission Impossible in 2025, and that's it. And even I've heard that was kind of a mixed bag, but I haven't seen it yet. But with video game adaptations, they've gone from just strikeout after strikeout after strikeout to every once in a while they hammer out a good one, but then they come out with Borderlands and a Minecraft movie. So it's still you never know what you're going to get, although the batting average has improved a little bit. So we'll see. We'll see.
The one thing I really do hope that they continue to do is they continue to make better quality stuff that really appeals to the fans. I don't know, man. I'm a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie because there are things that are coming up that kind of concern me.
Uh, we'll see. Like they, honestly, everyone that's making video game movies should honestly look to the Sonic movies as an example. At the bare minimum, at least please the fans of that game. At the bare minimum. So,
I mean, look at like the different. To me, the pinnacle still is the three Sonic movies and the one Mario movie. Like those movie series pay homage to the games, pay homage to the series that come out, the TV media, all that stuff, and is accessible to the fans. Even though I'm not a Sonic fan, I can kind of understand it enough to get to the point where yes, even though I don't know all the references, I'm still having fun, right?
yeah.
That's all I'm asking for when it comes to these video game movies.
Yeah.
And you will take my money, okay? I will go to the movie theater and I will pay the money as long as you can make a fun time. And that's what I want. And that's what they're going to do if they can get it right.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows? How many more Sonic movies do you think they could make, honestly?
Honestly, there are so many Sonic, kind of like there's so many Mario games. They have a near like limitless amount of content and stories that they can pull from. So as long as it's at least this quality, I would love to see better. But as long as it's like this in the pocket and respectful to the source material, then honestly and of course if they make money, which of course is Hollywood's a business. You got to make the movie has to make money. Which Sonic 3 made a bunch of money. Go fuck yourself, Mufasa. Um, suck on that one, Disney. But in any case, we've been jibber jabbering about Sonic 3. What did you guys think about Sonic the Hedgehog 3? What we will when the Super Mario Brothers 2 or Super Mario Brothers World or Galaxy or Universe or Omniverse or Multiverse comes out, me and Skyler are likely going to do a podcast about it here on SJSv2. So that's our next video 2 years from now.
Well, the other thing too, tell us in the comments, give us some movies that you want us to review. Give us something content that we want to do. We want to do more with you guys. Just tell us things that we should do. Should we go back and review old video game movies? Actually, wait, hold on. Do I want to do that now?
Yeah, we should totally watch Mortal Kombat Annihilation. That would be.
We should watch the original Mario Brothers movie that made the lead actors drink 5 beers a day.
Oh man.
Well, you've done shitty movie reviews before. Don't lie.
I sure have. I watched all 3 50 Shades of Grey movies and wanted to kill myself. I sat through The Exorcist 2, The Heretic. I deserve a Nobel Peace Prize just for that.
Yeah, because you didn't kill anybody after you watched it.
I wanted to kill myself. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. Let us know what movies of any level of quality or severe lack thereof you want us to review it down in the comments. And we will see you guys next time. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Not just here to SJSv2, but to the Court Martial Podcast, Colonial Impact Wrestling CIW, and of course, TAW Gaming. And if Skyler's channel that he might make in the future might not, or maybe this is just it, and that's all we're going to do about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. Later, everybody.